Hello again. Thanks for joining us for tonight's visit to Stormy Antiques. It's always an enjoyable place to visit, but especially so on a night like this. It's a place of calm, a place of coziness. It's almost as though it exists somewhere outside normal space and time, a shelter for more than just the weather. If you've ever found yourself one evening wandering down a quiet street in the rain, looking for somewhere to take shelter, you'll know what a blessed relief it is to find such a place as Rain Day Antiques. It delves into view between two residential buildings, a beautiful double-fronted store with a big window on either side of the entrance. The windows are divided up into square panes, and the glass between the metal bars is ever so slightly wavy, giving the place a dreamlike quality. This quaint little establishment stays open 24/7, if you can believe it, catering to international antique connoisseurs who might arrive at any hour and casual passers-by. Which of these categories you fall into? Well, that's up to you. On a night like tonight, when the street lamps are fuzzy halos and the rain starts coming down harder, so that your footsteps make little slaps and squelches on the sidewalk, there's nothing more welcome than the misty orange light seeping through the antique store's steamed-up windows, and its weather-beaten old sign hanging above the doorway, now creaking a little in the damp breeze that says, "Come on in, we're open." Inside, Rain Day Antiques is as cozy as can be. Push open the door and you'll find yourself enfolded in a set of heavy red velvet drapes. Extra protection against the elements. As you emerge through these into the store, the drapery rings click gently as they glide across the rails. It's quite a place. Above you is a domed skylight that looks up into the night, and the rain patters satisfyingly onto the glass overhead. There's plenty of space to move around, but every surface is piled high with curios, ornaments, and works of art. To the left of the door is a brass umbrella stand, and above it, a set of coat hooks. So feel free to unburden yourself of any damp layers and take this chance to really relax. The owner of this charming emporium is a middle-aged man named Henry, a dapper and pursuit gentleman who is sitting quietly in the corner of his kingdom reading a newspaper. Henry is the kindest man you could ever hope to meet. He's a true listener, and there are very few people you can say that about. If you ever chose to confide in him, you could be sure he'd listen carefully until the end. Then he'd say something very simple, but very wise. Something that would let you know everything's going to be okay. Now, as you enter, he nods at you graciously with an unobtrusive hospitality that says, "You're welcome to browse in peace for as long as you like. But if you need him, he's right here." The store smells of old books and radiators, with a slight freshness where the scent of rain is rising from your wet umbrella as it drips into the stand. Every so often, the lights of a car streak through the window, illuminating the darker corners of the store. In that moment, you see a row of leather-bound books and a fine folding room screen with Japanese scenery. Houses with curved roofs surrounded by trees, a bridge arching over a river. The sound of the car passing is a loud sigh when the rain seems to briefly up its tempo before resuming its steady rhythm. You could stay here all night, just breathing in and looking at things, thinking about their stories. In one corner of the store, you'll find a glass display cabinet filled with crockery. If you take a closer look, you'll be able to inspect a striking Art Deco piece with sharp triangles for the handles, patterned with bright geometric squares in orange and black. A small case lined with velvet sits next to the tea set, containing a collection of teaspoons with ornamental handles. You can almost imagine the ambiance of a long-ago tea party, the conversation punctuated by the delicate clanking of TSP on porcelain, and who knows, perhaps like tonight, by the comforting sound of rain on the windows. You're standing beside one of the store's several grandfather clocks. Its tick is steady, decisive, like a single raindrop falling again and again into a metal pail. You're peering at the clock's mechanism, which is exposed through its glass front. When you hear a little yip, it sounds like a greeting. You look down and find a small gray and brown dog gazing up at you. This is Rupert, Henry's miniature wire-haired dachshund. He has round, shining eyes and a little ginger beard. He's a serious but very friendly dog and an excellent judge of character. Straight away, he's discerned that you're someone worthy of his respect, and he nods his head, gives your shoes a quick sniff, and waddles off to his basket a few feet away. He gets into it and turns around in it 3 times before settling down to observe you with a fond expression on his face. He likes visitors to the store, but he's decided that he likes you most particularly. There's something so comforting about pottering around in here while the rain is rushing down outside. Henry, the proprietor, is playing a little light classical music in the background. It's hard to tell where it's coming from. Perhaps from the gramophone you can see resting on a cabinet just behind Henry, its golden horn wide open in the low light, like a night-blooming flower, but no, the record resting on the turntable is still, so the music must be coming from some digital source. Beneath the gramophone, a sign states firmly, "Not for sale." Well, of course, it's hard to imagine how Henry can bring himself to part with any of these things. In any case, the gentle strings are a perfect accompaniment to the rain which is trickling down the storefront windows with a rushing, crackling sound which reminds you, such is the coziness in here, of the sound a fire makes, burning logs in a hearth. If you asked Henry, he'd tell you that every antique has a story to tell. He likes to say that he never acquires anything for his store, unless there's some fantastic tale behind it. His regulars know that's just a lie, though. If you like something enough, he'll just go ahead and make up a story about it. Such as this vintage toy pedal car, which he says used to belong to a member of the British royal family. He hasn't got any paperwork to prove it, unfortunately. But then again, there's nothing to disprove it either. The car is bright green, slightly battered and rusting at the edges, but in its heyday, it would surely have been the perfect vehicle for a young prince or princess to take a turn about the palace gardens in. It has a long bonnet, but the rest of the car is all seat. There's a large cream-colored plastic steering wheel sticking up at the center of the car, so driving it might feel a bit like driving a mini-tractor. It's open top, though, no roof at all, so it would be no use on a night like tonight. In a dimly lit corner of Rain Day Antiques stands a writing desk, covered with a blanket, on which are laid out numerous smaller items. One of these is a box of old photographs and postcards. As you leaf through, you glimpse vintage postcards of European cities. Snow-capped mountains, black and white beaches, interesting rock formations, and a donkey in a straw hat. There are snapshots of groups of men in cricket whites, families awkwardly gathered together for a stagey photograph, cartoons of terriers and kittens in baskets, and a set of studio portraits of a clearly much-cherished spaniel. Some have spidery handwriting on the back, mostly illegible. You turn over a postcard from Holland with a windmill on it. "Dear Nanny and Auntie," it reads, "I'm having a lovely time. We have just been for a walk, and as I write this, it is pouring with rain. Thanks for the books. Love, Barbara." All these memories that once belonged to somebody else can now be yours for the taking. That's the funny thing about memories. They're very adaptable. You make your way over to a bookcase at the back of the store, containing several dusty old leather-bound books. When you take one down and turn it over, you find its pages are etched with gold and there's a pale blue ribbon sewn into the spine for marking your place. The pages are densely set with small type and speckled with brown spots, what booksellers call foxing. Isn't that a lovely word? You take down another, larger book which contains beautiful 19th century watercolors of the flora and fauna of South Africa. Here's a picture of some beautiful blue flowers fading to pink in the creases where they've been opened. It's a transfixing blue, the flower's delicate petals. Conveniently, there's an armchair right next to the bookcase, so you sink into it. It's rather ragged, and the stuffing is coming out in places, but it's surprisingly comfy. At your feet, there's a wire rack containing vintage magazines. Perhaps you could just sit here a while the rain pitter-patters in the background, communing with all this ancient literature and allowing yourself to slip, at least for a short time, into its magical world. Have you ever seen so many wonderful items in one place? Look over there. Sitting proudly on top of an antique sideboard is a leather hippo about the size of a footstool. But if anyone actually went so far as to rest their feet on this hippo's gently curved back, where a neat seam runs along it, well, that would seem very unkind. More likely, you'd want to give this hippo a little pat from time to time. Try it. His mahogany-colored bulk is surprisingly firm, with just a hint of something rumpled underneath. His stuffing, where he's been sewn together. His stitches are spraining somewhat, as if he's had one too many good meals. Well, he's lived a long time. Over the years, he's become rather worn and discolored in places, but that only adds to his character. You'd almost be tempted to give him a name. What could it be? George or Barry, or perhaps her name is Victoria, or Gretchen. Either way, this is one dignified hippo. There's so much to look at in here. You might want to just stand for a moment, gazing around you and soaking up the atmosphere in this rain haven. All around the walls stand pieces of furniture and large objects of various kinds. Scanning the room, you take in a mid-century coffee table, a grandfather clock ticking, an Art Nouveau hat stand with several remarkable feathered hats hanging from it, a gilt mantelpiece mirror streaked and dotted with age, and a dappled gray rocking horse with a red saddle and a long silvery mane. You go up to the hat stand and touch the grand plume sprouting from one of the hats. It's a blue sculpted hat with a red brim, designed to be worn at a tilt. A feather plume, dyed presumably to match the hat, is soft and slightly grainy to the touch, held in place with a rhinestone pin. How sturdy and philosophical these items seem somehow, gathered here in defiance of the passage of time, and certainly with no concern whatsoever for the weather. Some are over 100 years old, and yet here they are, looking forward to a new chapter of life, beginning with the moment when they meet that special someone who feels compelled to take them home. The rain outside seems to be coming down even harder, but the atmosphere inside the store remains peaceful and unchanging. Every so often, Henry lets out a small as if to express some profound sense of relaxation, and the pages of his unwieldy newspaper rustle as he turns them. Every now and then, he regards you for a moment over the top of his half-moon spectacles to check you're not in need of anything before returning to his reading. You move around the store quietly, occasionally picking up something and turning it over in your hands. Sometimes you return to the raggedy armchair to rest and contemplate your surroundings. Each time you look around the room, something new catches your eye. A model ship, perhaps, or a framed movie poster from the golden age of cinema. Maybe a blonde teddy bear wearing a bow tie. Whatever it is, you gaze at it for some time, wondering, where has it been? Who owned it before? Has it lived a long life with many different owners? Has it traveled the world? Or has it been treasured faithfully by one person until now? And what journey might it be about to embark on next?